After being rejected by everyone, a monkey warrior goes on a journey from heaven to hell to prove his worth and become the leader of the immortals. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, The Monkey King, from 2023. At the top of a mountain, a magical stone gives birth to a red-haired monkey that can shoot laser beams out of its eyes. Unaware of the new creature's arrival, the Jade Emperor and Lord of the Immortals is planning a banquet when the monkey begins to illuminate the palace with rays of light. Thinking it's some demonic creature, the leader of the Immortals orders his men to finish off the monkey, and Buddha is forced to intervene, claiming that this animal will play an extremely important role in the future and that they should let it find its way on its own. With Buddha's orders, the emperor decides to go back to organizing his banquet and lets Wukong go down to the mortal world, where he meets an old albino orangutan who is teaching some infants about the rules they need to follow, claiming that only immortals are free to do whatever they want. As a free spirit, the little red monkey doesn't like the idea of having to obey orders and ends up starting a ruckus with the other infants, causing them to come out of the shadows and be chased by the demon of destruction, who shows up to grab one of the infants. Outraged, the albino elder blames Wukong for the attack and orders the others to throw coconuts at him, making the infant feel rejected and return to live alone next to his rock, where he spends years training with coconuts. Now grown up, the monkey is watching another of the old man's lessons from afar when he sees the demon of destruction coming out of the waterfall and heading towards the forest. Wanting to help, Wukong interrupts the class and warns them about the danger that is approaching, but no one listens and they end up being surprised by the demon. To protect the infants, the monkey throws coconuts at the entity, which manages to defend itself with its bracelet and throw it away, catching the infant and returning to the waterfall. After the defeat, the other monkeys approach and ask for Wukong's help to rescue the little one, but the old man ridicules the idea, asking if he will try to do it with coconuts again. Wanting to prove his worth, the monkey decides to go to the middle of the ocean to retrieve the legendary staff that has been submerged for millennia, just waiting for the day when someone will be able to get it out. As the monkey approaches the weapon, the Dragon King, the immortal who rules the oceans, is preparing his revenge on the land creatures and doesn't realize that Wukong is just above approaching the staff he plans to use. Strange as it may seem, the monkey begins to talk to the staff, which reveals that he is the chosen one, shrinking to a size that the monkey can hold. Just below, the Dragon King sees the monkey fleeing with his legendary weapon and decides to speak to the Jade Emperor to complain about the theft, but the leader of the Immortals recalls the Buddha's instructions and refuses to interfere, saying that if he wants to recover the object, he must do it on his own. Unaware that he's been targeted by the Immortals, the monkey goes to the cliff where the demon of destruction attacked, and even though he's scared, he decides to run towards the waterfall to save the infant. As they approach the abyss, the stick asks Wukong to hold on tight and begins to stretch out, serving as one of those Olympic jumping poles for the monkey to reach the other side. In this way, the monkey is thrown into the cave inside the waterfall where the infant is caged just above a cauldron. To save him, the monkey asks the staff to keep watch and goes to the cage to free the prisoner, but as the tiger demon is already approaching, the enchanted broomstick decides to act on its own and throws itself towards the lock, saving the monkeys from being caught by the entity. Acting on its own, the staff fights the demon of destruction while Wukong is paralyzed with fear. Realizing that the enemy is getting angrier and angrier, the ruby monkey asks for his weapon to stop, and that's exactly what it does, leaving the monkey totally defenseless against the demon. With that, Wukong finally realizes that he has no chance unarmed and asks for the help of the stick that saves him at the last second, spinning like a propeller and gliding with the monkey. Now that they understand each other, monkey and staff manage to fend off all the blows and break the demon's golden bracelets, as well as pushing the giant feline over the cauldron and ending the battle with a blow that knocks him into the Jade Palace. With this, Wukong is acclaimed as the Monkey King and decides that he will begin the journey to become one of the immortals, challenging himself to defeat 100 demons to prove that he can do it. With this goal in mind, he sets off on a journey across China where he faces 98 other demons without difficulty. Hearing rumors about the 100th entity, Wukong arrives in an apparently abandoned village and enters a bar where he finds the people hiding. After introducing himself, the Monkey King explains that he is trying to become an immortal and that he has already defeated 99 other demons, but the people don't believe him and ask him to leave, only to change their minds when a girl called Lin appears and claims to be Wukong's #1 fan, talking about all his achievements so far. Although they find it strange, the villagers decide to accept the help of the Monkey King, who goes out to look for the fire demon, finding him handcuffed to the mayor's son. To save him, the reddish monkey breaks the chains and strikes the entity, which flies away, but it soon manages to return to the battle and changes into its demonic form, taking Wukong into the air where they begin to fight. Extremely cocky, The Monkey King manages to fend off the demon girl's blows and holds her spear while using his tail to strike her, but the entity doesn't let up and bites him on the tail, making Wukong drop his staff and go into free fall. To save him, the object flies towards its owner and carries him back to the demon, who tries to hit them with fireballs, forcing Wukong to deflect the projectiles towards the village, which begins to burn. Heedless of the fire, the Monkey King continues playing and throws the demon spear into the air, trapping the demon girl against his staff. As they fly around uncontrollably, the entity turns its neck like the exorcist's girl and spits a giant fireball in the Monkey King's face, causing him to let go of the staff and start falling. When its bearer is in danger, the staff breaks free and goes to him of its own accord, leaving the entity impressed by the object's loyalty. To humiliate her, Wukong throws the staff in the demon girl's direction and tells her that if she can hold it for 10 seconds, she will be the new wielder. But the legendary weapon refuses to allow this to happen and starts spinning wildly, causing the entity to sink into the ground like a drill. With that, the Monkey King manages to defeat his 100th opponent and Lin offers to be his assistant, but Wukong rejects the proposal and says he doesn't need anyone's help, even though he blew up the village with the end of the battle. Nevertheless, the villagers decide to hold a commemoration ceremony and create a song in his honor. Unaware that the Dragon King is watching everything and planning a way to recover the staff, Wukong tries to communicate with the immortals saying that it's time to become one of them, but the only one who answers his call is the water entity itself, which accuses him of being a thief. Wanting to get his weapon back, the Dragon King keeps distracting Wukong while his men go under the stage and saw the ground beneath the staff. The magical iron staff tries to warn him about what's happening and the Monkey King completely ignores it, allowing it to be taken right from under his nose. Once the mission is complete, the Dragon King disappears in front of everyone and the monkey goes after the staff to retrieve it, running down the mountain until he reaches the thieves. As soon as he catches up with them, Wukong stretches his weapon out to both sides and throws the Dragon King's men against bushes and rocks, which ends up causing a landslide that begins to chase them. After everyone is carried away by the stones, the Monkey King emerges victorious from yet another battle and continues his journey in search of immortality while Lin pursues him. Finding it strange that he hasn't yet been called by the Jade Emperor, Wukong begins to think of ways to become immortal and the staff suggests visiting the King of Hell, but as Lin is the only one who knows how to read the signs pointing to the cemetery, the staff begins to fight with the monkey who is forced to accept her into the group. After a long journey, they finally arrive at the place and the monkey opens a portal to the underworld, pushing Lin through and jumping out straight away. On the other side, Wukong explains to the girl that the date of a person's perishment is written on the scroll of life, and if he manages to erase the number, he will finally become immortal. With the plan explained, they enter the judgment hall where Yama, the leader of the underworld, sends the souls to their rightful places. Quite confident, the Monkey King goes to the boss of hell and asks to see his scroll of life, but Yama refuses, saying he needs authorization and Wukong decides to use Lin as a distraction, alerting everyone that she is still alive. With souls swarming around the girl, the Monkey King runs towards the scroll room while Lin tries to convince Yama that it's just a spirit. After telling a story, the girl manages to convince the king of the underworld that she is no longer alive and goes after Wukong, finding him outside the scroll room. Together, they enter the place and start looking for the Monkey King's records, but as he has no family or surname, they will have to look at each one until they find the right one. As they walk through the corridors, the pair are surprised by Yama, who shows them the parchment and accuses them of being invaders, saying that he will send them back to the world of the living whatever the cost. With its mystical stamp, the entity manages to make several copies to fight, but Wukong isn't left behind and also manages to multiply, starting a battle of shadow clones. While the beings fight each other, Lin manages to get the scrolls until she is buried by several other scrolls, having to search for the papers among the thousands of others that fall on her. After some time, the girl manages to find the scroll again and gives it to the monkey who plans to erase his perishment. But Yama is determined to prevent this from happening and uses his stamp to try to suck them both into a prison, forcing the monkey to knock him out and allowing him to take the brush of the underworld to scratch the scroll. Not knowing what to do, Yama calls the Jade Emperor for help, but before he can speak, Wukong knocks out the king of the underworld and tells him that he has crossed out his elimination, hoping that the emperor will now see him as immortal and take him to the palace. But that's not what happens. Contrary to what the Monkey King thought, the Jade Emperor reveals that he is not yet immortal and that the only thing he has done is prevent his perishment by old age. However, Wukong is still susceptible to losing his life in other ways. Not knowing what to do, the Monkey King asks how he can become totally immortal and the Jade Lord says it's impossible, but Yama refutes this and talks about the Book of Eternal Life. Wanting to get the object, Wukong opens the guardrails with his staff and Lin takes the book, but Yama is determined to stop them and starts running after the two while trying to land a few arrows. With the help of the staff, the two pass through the Hall of Souls and the Monkey King manages to open the passage back to the world of the living. Once in the cemetery, Wukong asks Lin to read the book and discovers that to become immortal he needs to eat the enchanted peach of eternal life. Feeling tired, the girl warns him that the journey will be extremely long and asks for some time to prepare. As soon as the monkey leaves, she goes down to the water and starts talking to the hologram of the Dragon King, complaining about how unpredictable the monkey is and asking them to break off the deal. Refusing to accept, the Water Lord reminds Lin that her village is going through a drought and that she needs to pick up the staff if she wants to save her family. Even though she knows that the lives of everyone in her village depend on it, the girl argues that Wukong never lets go of the baton and the Dragon King decides that he will use the monkey's ambition against himself, asking Lin to lead the monkey to the place where the map is pointing while he and his men prepare everything. Left with no options, the girl follows the plan and begins to lead the Monkey King to the supposedly enchanted orchard. Before they arrive, the water dragon alters one of the trees and disguises his men so that they make Wukong eat the intoxicated fruit, hoping that the monkey will black out at the first bite and he can take the stick. But when the monkey arrives with Lin, the Dragon King's servants mess up the plan and deliver a peach from the wrong tree, which has no effect on Wukong. Not knowing what to do, the men argue to decide which tree is the right one and one of them eats the peach to test it, which causes him to be completely stunned and pass out soon after. With the confirmation that this was the right tree, the other servant of the Dragon King tries to convince Wukong to eat the peach and Lin suggests that they both bite into the fruit at the same time, causing them both to be completely stunned. Now that the monkey is completely insane, the Dragon King comes out of hiding and reaches for his staff, but Wukong wants him to feel the same and throws a peach into the immortal's mouth, without giving him time to react. As a result, they both get dazed and the Dragon King decides to just go back to his bathtub and leave, leaving Lin alone with the monkey. After a few seconds, Wukong finally snaps and the girl decides to take the weapon herself, but just as her assistant is about to take the object out of her hands, the monkey regains consciousness and begins to wonder if he has finally become immortal. After discovering that his plan has gone wrong, the monkey decides to continue alone and the two end up arguing, but while they are fighting, the staff sees that there is a photo of an entity in the Book of Life and manages to get them to stop and look. Reading what is written on the cover, Lin discovers that the text is talking about Wang Mu, a sorceress who is able to produce the elixir of immortality. Thinking this is the answer, Wukong grabs his squire and jumps with her towards the Jade Palace, passing the Emperor and arriving at Wang Mu's potions room just as she is leaving to fetch some ingredients. With no one to stop them, they walk through the clouds and enter the sorceress's alchemical room, but while searching for the elixir, Wukong ends up inhaling the vapor of a potion that turns him back into an infant, leaving him totally out of control just like when he was little. Jumping from one side of the room to the other thanks to some teleporting fruit, the monkey ends up getting stuck inside the oven and Lin decides to take the opportunity to get the stick, but when she turns around to run, the infant version of Wukong starts crying and the girl is forced to go back to help him. With him freed, Lin decides she can't waste any more time and grabs the legendary weapon to take it to the Dragon King, but just as she's reaching the door, the infant drinks the potion again and returns to his original size, retrieving the staff and blaming the girl for all the destruction. Now that he can control himself, Wukong asks her assistant to read the recipe for the elixir and that's exactly what Lin does, but while they are collecting the ingredients, they are surprised by the sorceress who catches them in the act. As soon as she realizes she's being robbed, Wang Mu traps everyone inside the room and starts attacking the Monkey King, who manages to grab the ingredients while fighting. With the elixir almost ready, the girl asks for peach nectar and tries to remove the essence to make the potion, but as the substance is stuck inside the pot, she asks for something she can use as a spoon and the Monkey King decides to throw the stick. Using the object, Lin manages to catch the nectar and mix the elixir, but just as Wukong is about to drink the potion, the sorceress explodes the basin and knocks everything to the ground, as well as throwing the monkey into space with a single punch. Now that Lin is alone, Wang Mu goes after her, ready to eliminate her, but when she learns that she only wanted the staff to save her village from drought, the sorceress changes her mind and opens the door for her to leave, saying that the girl must go to the Emperor so that he can take her back home. After Lin leaves, Wukong finally falls back into the room and the sorceress uses her electrical powers to immobilize the Monkey King. Outside, Lin hears the monkey's cries of pain and decides to go back to help him, stretching out his staff and making Wukong drink the drops of elixir that remained on the tip of the object. With this, the Monkey King finally becomes an immortal and begins to shine, but Wang Mu is not intimidated and continues to attack with her red lightning bolts. Somehow, the electricity makes Wukong even stronger and causes him to grow without stopping, making him so powerful that the sorceress decides to ask the other immortals for help. Knowing the danger they are in, Lin tries to convince the Monkey King to flee and is completely ignored, forcing her to eat the fruit from the teleport and causing her to free fall, which forces Wukong to drop everything to go and save her. In this way, she manages to get the Monkey King to leave the palace, but as he continues to want to confront everyone and take the place of the Jade Emperor, Lin tries to make him see that there are other more important things to do, like helping people. With this in mind, the girl suggests that the Monkey King use his staff to control the weather and make it rain in her village, but Wukong replies that this isn't important and that if she wants to help people, she'll have to do it alone. Saddened, the girl tells him she's only human and that she can't change the climate, but when he keeps saying he doesn't want to help people, she decides to trick him and pick up the baton herself. To do this, she takes advantage of Wukong's gigantic ego and challenges him by asking him how long he can go without breathing underwater, causing the monkey to drop his stick and jump into the middle of the lake. Alone, Lin calls the Dragon King's men and hands over the magical iron staff, waking Wukong as soon as they leave. Even though she's afraid of the reaction, the girl tells him what she's done and says that everyone she loves is suffering, and that only the Dragon King can do anything to help. Even so, the monkey doesn't accept the betrayal and starts arguing with Lin when a water avatar of the Dragon King emerges from the lake. With his staff in hand, the immortal thanks Lin for her help and says that the drought will soon end in her village, as it will in the rest of the planet when he sends his flood. Knowing that this will be the end of humanity, Lin regrets what she's done and offers to help the Monkey King, but he's still hurt and says he'll do everything himself, going into berserker mode once again. At the bottom of the ocean, the Dragon King puts the staff back on the pedestal and ends up causing a gigantic water storm on the surface. With the first of the disasters over, the Dragon King begins to grow to the size of a kaiju and starts to frighten the humans, but the Monkey King wants his staff back and calls him to fight. With no time to lose, the giant immortal tries to blow Wukong into a forest in the distance, but the monkey berserker is determined to continue and returns with his clones to attack him. Wanting to make amends for what she did, Lin once again apologizes for the betrayal and is totally ignored by the monkey, but she still wants to help and this time decides to deceive the Dragon King, saying that Wukong's weakness is lightning. Thinking it's true, the immortal summons a storm that electrocutes the monkey, causing it to grow almost infinitely as it sinks into the ocean. When he reaches the deepest part, the Monkey King sees his staff causing the tornado and decides to retrieve the object, ending the storm and the tsunamis with a single touch. With his weapon in hand, the Monkey King returns in giant size and begins to humiliate the aquatic Godzilla, who doesn't stand a chance. Thanks to the help of his staff, Wukong manages to squeeze the Dragon King's body until it is the size of a lizard, but even with the victory, the monkey is still out of control and challenges the Emperor to a fight, splitting the Jade Palace with his laser beam vision. Thinking that this has gone too far, the Lord of the Immortals summons his allies and together they begin to fight the monkey. Even alone against three, Wukong is extremely overpowered and manages to shrink them with the help of his staff, swallowing the deities and spitting them off the planet. Thinking that no one can stop him, Wukong goes even crazier and starts dancing on the water, causing tsunamis that almost wipe out innocent people and making Lin feel guilty for everything that has happened. Realizing the state of things, Buddha finally decides to intervene and stretches out his palm to crush the monkey, but Lin manages to see him and asks him not to do it, claiming that Wukong is not evil and can be a good immortal. Convinced by the girl, the deity decides to give Lin a chance to help him find his way and allows the girl to control his spirit, making her assume the form of a Buddha to talk to the Monkey King. Wanting to put an end to everything once and for all, Lin takes advantage of Wukong's ego and proposes another challenge, placing him on the hand and saying that if he manages to get out of the Buddha palm, he will be the new leader of the Kingdom of Heaven. But if he fails, the Monkey King will be stuck on Earth until he finds his true path. Finding the challenge extremely easy, Wukong jumps off the planet and travels through space to the edge of the universe, marking the ground when he reaches the end of the last galaxy. Suddenly, the Monkey King starts to fall and ends up back in the Buddha's palm, which shows the tip of his finger with the same mark that Wukong made in space, proving that it never left the hand. As a result, Wukong officially loses the challenge and is imprisoned inside a rock, condemned to stay there until he finds his place in the world. Now that this is done, Buddha talks to Lin and reveals that she has managed to save humanity and end the drought in her village, ending her journey in an extremely heroic way. With Buddha about to close the mountain where his friend is, Lin decides to pay one last visit and returns the staff to its true owner, saying goodbye to Wukong and living out her life while the Monkey King spends the next 500 years meditating, waiting for the day when he will be awakened and his journey west will begin. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.